In the previous episode, Zhang Ming grasped Li Shulai's hand and said, "Brother Shu, I also wish you great success and a bright future." Li Shulai shook Zhang Ming's hand firmly, replying, "Let's work together and strive hard, even to the point of moving the earth." Sometime later, at the local neighborhood committee office, a crowd had gathered, angrily voicing their complaints to an elderly woman seated at a desk. "My house gets plenty of sunlight," one person protested, "but those resettlement homes barely receive any. How can this small subsidy be enough for me?" Another complained, "We've lived here for decades. The elderly are attached to this place, and now they suddenly want to demolish our home. Who can we turn to for justice? Without proper feng shui, how will we find peace? Who will compensate us then?" Just then, Li Shulai arrived and asked everyone to step aside. He produced some documents, signed them, and handed them to the elderly woman behind the desk. A man in the crowd jeered at him, calling him a traitor. "How could you sign so quickly and accept the terms in advance?" he shouted. The elderly woman, now smiling nervously, announced, "Congratulations, Comrade Xiaoli, on receiving the demolition compensation and gaining the right to select your new home first. Thank you for your cooperation and support." Another elderly woman with white hair approached Li Shulai, taking his hand and scolding him gently. "Young people these days don't know how to fight for their rights. How could you just agree to such a low price without bargaining?" But Li Shulai remained calm. "I've made up my mind," he said. "Housing prices keep rising, and there are countless investment opportunities out there. Instead of haggling over a few extra cents, it's better to secure my demolition compensation now and put the funds into something more profitable. This way, I can also choose a better designed new home earlier." Surprised by his reasoning, many in the crowd exchanged doubtful glances. One elderly man, unconvinced, said, "Young man, we've tasted more salt than you've walked steps. You're selling too cheaply." Realizing that he couldn't change their minds, Li Shulai left without further argument. After he departed, one of the old men muttered, "He just wants others to suffer losses like he did." Another old man hesitated. "But what he said makes some sense, doesn't it?" "Nonsense," retorted the first. "Have you been brainwashed too?" Unfazed, Li Shulai moved forward with his plans. He sold everything and began considering his future investments. A month later, Li Shulai was practicing cultivation beneath a large tree in the park when his phone rang. He answered to hear a voice inform him, "Comrade Li, the 130,000 yuan of demolition compensation and 10 resettlement houses have been issued. If you have time, please come by to complete the necessary procedures." Surprised by the efficiency, Li Shulai thanked the caller. The voice on the other end continued, "This is an additional reward for those who signed the consent forms first. Comrade Xiaoli, this is all thanks to your early cooperation." Hanging up, Li Shulai reflected, "Nearly 8 million yuan and 10 houses. And that's just in Hangzhou. I'm rich." Finishing his cultivation, he headed home, delighted. This was the first time he had truly profited from his knowledge of future events. On his way back, he noticed 2 elderly men playing xiangqi. Feeling cheerful, he stepped forward and offered a suggestion for a better move. Startled, one old man snapped, "What are you doing, young man? Watching quietly is one thing, but why interfere with our game?" The other man just smiled. "No regrets once a move is made." Li Shulai apologized. He explained that he was simply in high spirits because something good had just happened to him. With this money, he thought, I can not only repay my mentor, but also officially start expanding the Li family business. When the other old man examined Li Shulai's move on the chessboard, he was taken aback. "That was actually a stroke of genius!" he exclaimed, astonished. Turning to his companion, he declared, "The move just now doesn't count. Let's relocate and start over." The other old man protested, "You said you wouldn't regret your move." But the first old man countered, "It wasn't your move, so this one doesn't count." Meanwhile, Li Shulai quietly slipped away, thinking to himself, "It's wonderful to have money. It's even more satisfying when it's money you've earned on your own." Having secured his second fortune, Li Shulai invested 1 million yuan to establish the Middle-Aged and Elderly Square Dance Fitness Public Welfare Foundation. In this era, many people could donate 1 million yuan, but few would invest it in such a charitable cause, especially one that garnered so much attention. Rumors swirled regarding the mysterious backer. Some said he was an investment tycoon from Hong Kong. Others claimed it involved the grandson of a wealthy magnate who had a fondness for square dancing. The media clamored for an interview, pressing Yiji Square Dancing Club for details. The club's secretary, however, offered only apologies, explaining that the benefactor's identity could not be disclosed. As he traveled by car to meet his master, Li Shulai read the news and mused, "The second phase of my plan is complete. In another 10 or 20 years, everyone will witness the power of square dancing etched into the very blood of the Chinese people." After that, he entered secluded training at Qingyun Temple for half a year, patiently nurturing his business plans and awaiting their fruition. Watching him, Xiaoning wondered, why would someone in their 20s be so fixated on square dancing every day? Meanwhile, at the pavilion hall, a businessman arrived seeking fortune-telling services from pavilion master Lin Shuhuan. When Li Shulai finally arrived to see his master, he noticed the visitor's back and thought, "This figure seems familiar." As he got closer, his eyes widened in recognition. Is that Yang Feilong? So, Yang Feilong managed such rapid success thanks to guidance from an expert. Yang Feilong, surprised to see Li Shulai, reasoned to himself, "No wonder this man appeared so suddenly. He's the master's disciple. The master must have seen my potential and sent him to assist me." Yang Feilong turned back to pavilion master Lin Shuhuan and asked, "What's the verdict?" Lin Shuhuan calmly replied, "No one can defeat you within 20 years. Yang Feilong was startled. He stood up abruptly. "What about 20 years from now?" he pressed. The pavilion master said nothing more, leaving Yang Feilong unsettled. Will disaster strike in 20 years? Will Feilong Technology's growth stall then? Desperate, he offered. "I can pay more, any amount you name. Just tell me how to avoid this fate." Lin Shuhuan regarded him quietly. "This isn't about money. To reveal secrets of the heavens brings calamity. I have accepted your reward and guided you for 20 years. This is the limit of what can be said about your fortune and misfortune. It's better not to ask further." At that moment, Lin Shuhuan called out to Li Shulai and asked him to come and see the guest off. Yang Feilong, still displeased with the pavilion master's cryptic answer, attempted to press the matter, but Li Shulai stepped in. "Mr. Yang," he said quietly, "the master has already said all she can. Please don't make things difficult for her. Let's talk while we walk." Realizing the hint, Yang Feilong thought, "So we'll talk outside. How could I have overlooked this?" He apologized to pavilion master Lin Shuhuan, saying, "I'm sorry for my earlier rudeness. Please forgive me. I'll leave for now and return another time." Once outside, Yang Feilong turned to Li Shulai and asked, "Master's disciple, have you learned something about my future?" Li Shulai nodded. "In 20 years, you will indeed face trouble." Startled, Yang Feilong asked anxiously, "What should we do? What kind of disaster is it? Will my company be manipulated, or will the general environment turn bad?" In a serious tone, Li Shulai replied, "The root of this disaster was planted over the course of these 20 years. I won't tell you precisely how it happened yet. You're a smart man. Think it over with your own wisdom." Yang Feilong, perplexed, wondered what that meant. Before he could ask more, Li Shulai continued, "When you plan your steps, don't just look 3 steps ahead, look 10 steps ahead. Some matters you must understand by yourself before anyone can help you. You will be invaluable to China's future development, so I won't simply stand by. I've given you a hint. The rest is up to you." Yang Feilong pressed on. "But what is this disaster? Will it deliver a crippling blow to Feilong, or to me personally?" Li Shulai merely smiled and said, "I've said enough. I was on the wrong side. Oh, never mind." Yang Feilong seized on that slip. The wrong side? This must be a key piece of information. He knew better than to push further. These masters had their own taboos, and pressing them too hard might only cause offense. He thanked Li Shulai sincerely. "You've helped me a great deal. I appreciate it." Grasping Li Shulai's hand, Yang Feilong said, "May I call you that? From the moment I met you, I wanted us to be brothers who could share both fortune and hardship. Now that I know you are the master's disciple, I feel unworthy." Li Shulai responded humbly, "Mr. Yang, you worry too much. Whether we are brothers or not, I've told you that you are crucial to China's future. Rest assured, I will help you. Now, return home and we'll speak another day." Yang Feilong thanked him again. "I trust you'll keep what we discussed in mind," he said, before departing, all the while wondering about the catastrophe that lay 20 years ahead. As he left, Li Shulai reminded him, "Walk slowly." After Yang Feilong departed, Li Shulai turned to leave as well, only to hear Xiaoning calling out from behind him. "What is it, nephew?" Li Shulai asked with a smile. "I'll be staying here to practice for the next 6 months," Xiaoning said. "What about you? What are your plans?" Li Shulai smirked. "I'll train without distraction," he said. "At the same time, I'll see if I can open your 8 extraordinary meridians and give you a physique suitable for cultivation. Surprised and grateful, Xiaoning exclaimed, "You're going to help me open them?" Li Shulai nodded. "We're fellow disciples. Naturally, we should help one another if we can. Now, I'm going to visit your grandmother. Prepare yourself." Xiaoning stood there, both nervous and excited. He wants to help me open the 8 extraordinary meridians, she thought. Does that mean I can truly begin practicing like him? But then another thought struck her. The only known method to open these meridians currently involves dual cultivation. As Xiaoning realized the implication of Li Shulai's offer, she became utterly shocked. He wants to practice dual cultivation with me? She thought, stunned. He acted so detached, claiming he had no interest in me, even dated other girls. Just to keep me uncertain? Furious, she stomped the ground. What on earth is he trying to say? Explain yourself clearly. The next day. Early the next morning, in Li Shulai's room, he was sleeping soundly. Suddenly, he sensed someone entering and opened his eyes. Startled, he realized he was completely unclothed as he bolted upright. Standing there was his master, Lin Shuhuan. Embarrassed, he asked, "Master, how long have you been here?" It's not right to watch someone sleeping like that, he thought. Lin Shuhuan regarded him calmly and asked, "Yesterday, when you went to see Yang Fong off, did you tell him what will happen 20 years from now?" Li Shulai grew nervous and asked, "Master, how did you know all this?" "Your secret code is far too obvious," Lin Shuhuan replied. "If I couldn't figure it out, I wouldn't be worthy of being your master." She fixed him with a serious gaze. "Tell me, did you take over someone's body, or were you reborn?" Shocked, Li Shulai thought, "No way. Just a few extra words and I was found out?" He wondered if his master had opened her celestial eye. Aloud, he started, "I want to deny it, but, Lin Zhuhuan cut him off. "Whether you're reborn or possessed another's body, it doesn't matter to me. I acknowledge only who you are now, my apprentice. No matter who you were in the past, you are just my disciple today." Li Shulai was surprised and deeply moved by her calm acceptance. As expected of a true master of the modern era, he thought. Lin Shuhuan continued, "It's true that revealing the secrets of heaven brings calamity. Everyone has their own fate, and one careless word can cause irreversible change. As your master, I only want to remind you, be prudent. I won't say this again. If you invite heavenly tribulation, I will be powerless to save you." Li Shulai bowed respectfully. "Thank you, master, for your guidance. I understand." He was grateful that she had not condemned him as a monster. Instead, she offered a warning. Is she not surprised by reincarnation or body possession? Could there be others like me in this world? Lin Shuhuan turned to leave, but before departing, she said, "Wash up, have breakfast, then come find me near the waterfall behind Qingyun Temple." "Understood," Li Shulai replied, smiling. "Master's going to teach me something again. The Ningxian Pond helped me immensely last time. This waterfall must be another invaluable opportunity." Just as she was leaving, Lin Shuhuan paused and looked back awkwardly. "Also, put some clothes on. Don't be so bold." Embarrassed, Li Shulai glanced down, realized his state of undress, and quickly covered himself with a pillow, smiling awkwardly. Later, near the waterfall. After cleaning up and having breakfast, Li Shulai arrived at the waterfall on the back hill of Qingyun Temple. He looked around, but couldn't find his master anywhere. Where is she? He wondered. Suddenly, someone tried to sneak up behind him and shoved him straight into the waterfall. Surprised and drenched, he emerged from the water, furious and on guard. "Who's there? Show yourself! Don't play these tricks!" he shouted, but no one responded. Climbing out of the water, Li Shulai thought, "I just began cultivating. I have no past enemies and no current grudges. There's no reason for anyone to be after me. It must be someone targeting my master instead." He shouted into the silence, "If you're planning an ambush on my master, you'll have to get through me first." At that, Lin Shuhuan stepped out from behind the bushes, smiling mischievously. "It was me," she said. Li Shulai was delighted to see his master. Lin Shuhuan looked at him and said, "Facing only forward, without considering what's behind you, is a serious taboo for cultivators. If there truly had been an enemy ambush here, you would have been in great danger. Still, your inexperience is understandable. After being attacked, you immediately became vigilant and showed concern for my safety. Your comprehension and character are quite good, and as your teacher, I'm pleased." She then asked, sounding concerned, "Was that hit just now painful?" Li Shulai tried to appear calm and confident. "No, it didn't hurt." In truth, he was still shaking from the surprise. Lin Shuhuan stepped closer, wading into the water and placing a hand on Li Shulai's chest to heal his injuries. The unexpected proximity made him uncomfortable, and he couldn't help blushing. While channeling healing energy, Lin Shuhuan said, "Killing for treasures, murdering for money, such things are common in the cultivation world. You must never let your guard down." Li Shulai nodded mechanically, barely hearing her words. His mind was preoccupied, struggling to maintain focus. "Don't look, he told himself, trying to resist the temptation to glance at his master's soft, graceful figure. To avoid giving in, he turned his head aside. But Lin Shuhuan moved even closer, her chest pressing lightly against him, causing his face to redden further. "Master is really quite soft and delicate," he thought fleetingly, before chastising himself. "Stop it, Li Shulai. She's your master. Pay attention to her teachings." He forced himself to remain calm. Finishing the healing, Lin Shuhuan stepped back slightly. "The reason I brought you to the waterfall today," she said, "is that your physical condition must be strengthened. Cultivation is not just about refining qi and the mind, it's about the body as well. Many believe cultivation is only about accumulating spiritual power and practicing techniques, neglecting their physique. This leads to stagnation in the later stages, as the body can't handle the stress." She reminded him, "Although you soaked in the Ningxian pool and opened your meridians, that alone isn't sufficient. You have talent, but you must still lay a solid foundation." Li Shulai felt a surge of relief, thinking the worst was over, but Lin Shuhuan fixed him with a serious look and said, "Today, we begin special training.